There's this back channel conversation right now happening on immigration as well. Right now in the news is focused on 10 million other things, and I literally have people in my state saying, things must be going better at the border now because I don't hear about it much anymore. And I'll smile at them and I'll say, I happen to be on that committee and be very engaged in the issues of border management and border security. Things are not getting better, they're getting worse. March was the highest number of illegal crossings in 20 years. It was beaten in April, it was beaten in May, it was beaten in June. Current trend, that will be beaten in July. Just last week, just in 1 week last week, the Rio Grande crossing, just that one sector in 1 week, had 20,000 interdictions in 1 week. At one time, they had 15,000 people that they were detaining. So what's happening in that? I keep hearing from the administration, we're going to take on the root causes. The root causes is a simple way to say, we'll deal with this later. Because if you want to talk about root causes, it's a statement of saying basically the problems are in Central America, we can't stop it. Well, that's a nice note, except for here's a list of the countries that have crossed our border illegally just this year. It's over 100. Over 100 countries, individuals have illegally crossed the border. So what about Brazil? What about Chile? What about Colombia? What about Guinea? What about Indonesia? What about Mauritania? Are we going to go after the root causes there? Nicaragua, the Philippines, Indonesia, Romania, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates. This is just a few of the people that have illegally crossed this year in big numbers. Listen, this whole conversation about root causes is a distraction. We do need to be engaged in the Western Hemisphere. We do need to deal with our drug addiction in this country that causes the flow of drugs to be able to move through South America, Central America, Mexico, into the United States. We do need to be aggressive in how we're handling cartels, but to somehow believe that if we poured enough money into the Northern Triangle, that suddenly this would all end is false. We are the greatest country in the world. The root cause of immigration into this country is the great power of the United States, both for freedom and for our economy. People from all over the world want to come here. We have 1 million people a year that legally come to the United States. Legally, 1 million. And folks that don't want to wait in line, pay a cartel, and move through Mexico to be able to get here, literally from all over the world. If we do not enforce our borders, these numbers will continue to rise as they have every single month in this administration. Every month, the numbers get bigger. We've got to get on top of this. I wish I could say the administration's taking it seriously. I wish I could say they have a plan. I wish I could say they've released out their studies that they said they were going to do, but they've not released out their studies, they've not released out their plans, and I continue to ask week after week after week. The first hint that I got of what they plan to do came out in their budget. In their budget, they reduced funding for ICE. They reduced the number of bed spaces for ICE. I was shocked. The numbers continue to skyrocket, and their first release of what they plan to do on it, they asked for a 1,500 bed space reduction in ICE capacity for detention. Now, honestly, when I got it, I thought, I can't believe they're putting it in print, but I already knew that it was going on. Why did I already know that was going on? Because as I track the numbers all the time, I've watched the number of deportations and ICE detentions dramatically decrease. Because while some people are focused on the border, they lose track of the fact that not only is this administration not enforcing our southern border, they're not enforcing the interior of the country. We have 6,000 ICE agents in the United States, 6,000 professional law enforcement career folks that are in the country arresting individuals that are illegally present in the country with the first priority for criminal aliens. That's their first priority, safety and security of the United States. Of the 6,000 agents in the United States, in May, they did 3,000 total arrests. 3,000 among 6,000 agents in a month. That's a record low because the administration changed the rules for ICE agents on who they could interdict. The first big rule change they made is ICE agents cannot arrest someone who's not legally present unless they get permission from regional leadership by name to arrest that individual. Meaning, if they go into a place to arrest someone and they encounter one person that they receive permission to actually arrest, but also find 3 other criminal aliens there, they cannot detain or arrest them. They have to leave them, request by name later to go back and get them, and guess what? They're not there. Shocking. And it's not all criminal aliens. There's only certain criminal aliens that they're now allowed to actually detain. That's a big shift from every previous administration. Let me give you an example that I actually gave to Secretary Mayorkas and asked specifically about some recent frustrating moments from our ICE agents. Just a few days ago, ICE reached out on a previously deported alien by name. This person had been convicted of a sex assault of a minor under age 14. The alien was at large, and they asked permission to be able to go after this alien and to be able to do a street arrest. Remember, they've been deported before. They knew that they were in the area. They were a previous sex offender convicted. They were denied the ability to go after that person. They were told, no, they don't meet the standard. Case number 2, another person that was previously deported. They had a previous conviction for indecency with a child, sexual contact. They were a registered sex offender. They believed they were in the area. They were asked if they could pursue arrest. Regional leadership told them no, they could not. Case number 3, this just happened last week. Previous deported alien twice. So this means they were in the 3rd time in our country illegally. Previous convictions for alien smuggling, that is trafficking of people, theft, illegal entry. They knew they were in the area. They asked if they could do the arrest. Regional leadership told them no. I could go on and on. ICE has a different set of rules now than what they've had in the past. It's not just criminal aliens anymore. It's they have to be a really high criminal alien. I could give you lists of people that have multiple DUI offenses that ICE asked if they could detain them, and they were told no. Listen, we have all said in this room, we should engage with criminal aliens, and criminal aliens should be deported. I don't know of a person in this room that hasn't said it. We stopped in May deporting criminal aliens. Are we going to do nothing about that? If you don't believe me, call Secretary Mayorkas. He will send you a copy that I have as well of the interim guidance that was put out in May for ICE agents, limiting who they could deport and the process for deportation. I've asked him specifically, if someone goes to pick up a criminal alien and there are other aliens that are there, can they be picked up? And the answer has been no. We have a problem, not just on our southern border, but what's happening in our country in the issue of enforcement. And we would be wise if we would pay attention to this. I'm fully aware there are many individuals in this body that do not like the southern border wall. That's been a topic of great debate in this room for several years. But is this body aware that in January of this year, when President Biden paused, quote unquote, the border wall construction and said, I'm going to spend 60 days studying it, that 60-day study is still not complete, 200 days into the presidency. He's still not completed the 60-day study. On top of that, the pause of that construction during that time period, we're still paying contractors to not do construction. So far this year, we have paid contractors $2 billion, billion with a B, $2 billion not to construct the wall. Now, you may think it's a waste to construct the wall. I do not. But please tell me you at least believe it's a waste to not construct a wall and still pay contractors to not construct a wall. We're currently paying contractors $3 million a day to watch the materials that had been delivered by January the 20th that were sitting on the ground for steel, for fiber, for cameras, for lighting, for roads. We're paying $3 million a day to have them watch the materials on the ground to make sure they're not stolen. $3 million a day. That is a waste. And as people cross our border in record numbers, a new policy has been instituted on our southern border called a notice to report. This, again, has never been done by any administration. A notice to report is when the line gets too long on the southern border with people crossing the border, when they're trying to check everyone in. If the line gets too long, Border Patrol are instructed to grab the folks in the back of the line, give them a notice to report. That's a card telling them where ICE agency offices are around the country, and they can just go ahead and go and turn themselves in at whatever ICE agency they want to turn themselves into anywhere in the country. So far, 50,000 people this year have been given one of those cards at our southern border and told, turn yourself in wherever you go in the country. 50,000. My shock as I'm trying to track the number is 13% have actually done it. I was surprised the number was that high. But that means 87% of the people that we've handed a card to and said, turn yourself in wherever you go in the country, have not. 87%. We have no idea where they are of that 50,000 people that were released into the country because the line was too long at that moment. Listen, we can disagree about a lot of things on immigration. But handing people a card and saying, just travel anywhere where you want to go in the country and turn yourself when you get there, can we at least agree that's a bad idea? Can we at least agree paying contractors $2 billion not to construct the wall is a bad idea? Can we at least agree that criminal aliens that have been previously convicted and are being picked up for another charge should at least be deported in the process? Can we at least agree that if you want to deal with the quote-unquote root causes in the Northern Triangle in Central America, does not deter the people from over 100 countries that have crossed our southern border this year illegally? There is a bigger problem. Can we at least agree that we should address this? We have a great deal of work to be able to be done. I would encourage all of us to get the facts, to get the details of what's really happening, and to understand that when over 1 million people have illegally crossed the border just this year that we know of, that's a problem. And it's a problem that hasn't been there in the past anywhere close in this kind of number. And we should address it in this body. I've written letters, I've made phone calls, I've done reports, we've done research, I've sat down with Secretary Mayorkas, I've held nominees for DHS. I have done everything that I can do to bring this issue to the forefront. And though others seem to ignore it, this is an issue that we should not ignore. National security is not something we should be flippant about. And not everyone crossing that border is just coming for a job. We should engage.